So we're doing a double review of Shield Hero Season 2 since I missed last week. Not because I was busy, but because I didn't really have a lot to say with the previous episode, so mostly this will be dedicated to this latest one that came out, which probably people will be happy about because this was the more exciting out of the two. But I will say, Season 2 and the Tortoise arc in general, it is not up to par with Season 1, of course, but I also haven't hated it either, so it was interesting to see that after multiple positive videos, for the most part anyway, I mean, I've had some criticisms here and there, I was surprised people thought I dropped it after having a very positive video, but no, this is just like, if there isn't enough to talk about, we'll just do a joint review sort of a thing. And for me, the reason I enjoyed the latest episode far more is because even though I don't think last week was pointless, it was just a lot of like traveling and dialogue we've already kind of seen. But in terms of the latest one, they did some interesting things by bringing back Lark, Glass, introducing the Book Vassal character who I've seen a lot of people say was annoying. I thought was a nice addition. I love the kind of psychotic attitude and what it represents for the story in general. Because honestly, with where the Spirit Tortoise was going and the idea of continuing to keep this thing alive, time and time again, it feels like you're battling in a video game, right? The final boss, you kill it, you come in, you have your arsenal, you're ready, you use most of your potions, use most of your ammo, but shit, we finally beat it. In comes second form. Okay, I'm sweating a little bit, I don't have a lot, I gotta be a lot more careful because I came in with a bit of an ego because I had all these healing items, but I can take the second form. Are you kidding me? There's a third form? You turn the game off and you come back when you cool down. That's kind of how it feels. It's like, that's the annoying part, because if we would have just really like maybe wrote it in a different way, like maybe not just had the memory thing with us kind of like, only remembering things as she got closer, maybe it wouldn't have been quite as annoying, because then there would have, at the very least, not been the realization that had they just killed her to begin with, everything would have ended. If it would have been like, hey, I'm the, maybe after the first battle, right? You're like, oh, wait, I'm actually connected. If you kill me, we'll be fine. If now Fumi and the gang said, no, maybe we'll try to find a different way. We'll go into the core. Maybe it would have felt a little more natural, but I can't lie. It just comes across as that third phase in a video game where you're saying 2 phases is fine, but once you get to the third and you have no weapons, you have no healing potions, you're going up against the Goliath with your bare fist, it pisses you off. I mean, this is kind of how I feel. But in terms of like what the new character represents, that's some good shit, I have to admit, because this is a man who not only is going to Naofumi's world, but similar to what happened with Glass, the idea that they need to, kill Naofumi and the heroes. So there's that rivalry of like protecting your own world by screwing over a different world. At the very least, you understand where those characters are coming from because they're just trying to protect their own. This man, however, is doing things for selfish gains and not just going to Naofumi's world, but going to all of them and apparently doing the same shit to these Spirit Tauruses who, even though it's kind of like the needs of the many versus the needs of the few, I see where the Spirit Tortoise is coming from, because had it collected enough souls, it could have prevented waves forever. That's basically what it seems like. But as we now see, summons can do some crazy shit push come to shove. So I mean, the latest episode, while definitely a lot more entertaining just for the action and the kind of like twisting and turning of the story, to me personally, the Spirit Tortoise arc has been fine. It's nothing extraordinary. I've heard the light novel author even themselves aren't the biggest fan of the arc and maybe wish they would have done things differently, and I get it. So that's why I've been fine with the faster pacing, because I've heard the arc following this one is far better in line with what Season 1 covered. So for me, this is kind of like the let's hope there isn't a 4th or 5th phase of the boss, because I honestly do just want to get to the next arc. But in terms of introducing some of my favorite parts of Season 1 again, which is Glass and the gang there, and the fact that they don't need to fight right now, and there's even a threat for them that overrides even the conflict with Naofumi, I thought is a entertaining kind of added addition, and I love the visual design of the interior of the tortoise, and honestly, it kind of reminded me of, if anyone's ever played The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, in the 3rd dungeon you go inside Jabu Jabu's belly, and like the weird like organs and the jellyfish and shit, that's kind of what the interior of the heart and everything they were doing there reminded me of. Just with a more like gothic horror design is how I'd spin it. It's kind of like a mixed bag, right? Because I'm never bored watching Shield Hero. Like, I still have fun watching it, but like if you look at, say, last week's episode, right? There's 2 things that stand out, both good and bad kind of mix into one. You have one, us kind of being the like, oh, I don't really remember, but I'm starting to remember. And I really don't hate her character or anything, but it's one of those things where I do wish they would have wrote it differently. Like, okay, if you're going to go memory, only have that line be for the first fight, right? Because if you're going to have a second or third form, at the very least, let the viewers and the characters just know and not continue to be like, oh, I'm starting to remember, because it makes it feel suspicious, but we know she's not suspicious, right? So it's kind of like an annoying trait to her. And then, of course, you also have Risha, who is continuing to want to serve the bow hero, but is with Naofumi, and that should be the priority. So by having, someone essentially worshipping characters who make us mad, and then another character who continues to not remember until the worst possible time, and the fact that it continues to have these forms, that's where the annoyance with the community comes from, because people are, they're saying, well, shit, I don't care about these characters. Characters I do care about are involved in an arc I don't care about. So I do understand where the frustration's coming from, but I also say it's still fun, because it's a fun world with fun characters and things like that. It's just, there is these weights that does keep it down from becoming a great arc. And given the fact that I have heard from source readers that the next arc doesn't suffer in the same way, and that the author themselves even had regrets with this one, it does say to me it was just a fluke. It's not that Shield Hero jumped the shark and it continues to do so. It's an arc that didn't connect with the masses, the author included, and that's going to happen, right? Not every arc is going to be a banger. I'm just thankful at the very least that I enjoy the action and the idea of this arc, and I think there's some good setup going on in the future. Just for me, the thing that bothers me the most is that there's going to be a fourth form. I'm just convinced they're just going to keep reviving this tortoise. I feel like, we're going to be in like 2 arcs from now in like the second core, which probably is going to come out, next year or whatever they're calling season 3 of Shield Hero, that is, right? I imagine that damn tortoise is going to pop up, be like, hey, bitches, you thought I was done? No, I'm back for vengeance. And then knowing this, will just get obliterated one shot, and we'll be like, why the hell could Naofumi not do that, right? But it's just one of those things, right? Because it's still entertaining. It does remind me of that stressful video game ending where I'm like, we shouldn't still be here. But the thing that does save it for me is that they introduced a fascinating new character that to me represents something even more interesting to come down the line, especially given the Glass and Lark and everything like that kind of mix and mash up. So for me, it's a mixed bag, don't get me wrong, but I don't hate this season. I don't hate Shield Hero. I don't think it's ruined it. But the thing that does let me let out a sigh of relief is that I've heard nothing but from like all the source readers I know and even randoms online, the next arc's better. It makes me happy. I'm just hoping that this arc will come to an end within an episode or 2. 1 episode would be brilliant. 2 episodes I could deal with. If it's any more than that, I mean, goddamn, they really best like shake up the cast to be a little more interesting. But I mean, I do like the idea of the Vassal book weapon. I do like the idea of Oz being like the key here, and that if she was to die, like it would stop everything. I just wish that reveal came after the first battle and like she remembered after dealing the damage. I wish we didn't have to take so long to get here. So even though this may sound like to the people who hate Shield Hero that, oh yes, Brandon's one of us, he hates it, or to the people who love Shield Hero without a second thought, oh man, he's the biggest hater. No, I'm pretty much in the middle. I still have fun. I'm just kind of annoyed at certain areas, but I still love the show. And I'm still excited for more, especially given that I have heard good things going forward. But of course, I'll pass the question and torch over to you. What do you think of either this latest one or last week's? Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. Until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.